Number 6, game theory. Imagine two criminals sitting in separate interrogation rooms. They each get the same offer to either stay silent and protect your partner or cut a deal and sell them out. If they both stay silent, they will walk free. If one betrays and the other stays loyal, the traitor goes free and the loyal one gets 5 years. If both betray each other, then both will get punished. The mathematically rational move is always betrayal, so both betray and both lose, even though cooperating would have been the better outcome for both of them. This is the prisoner's dilemma, the most famous problem in game theory. And it's the science of strategic decision making, formalized by John von Neumann in 1944 and extended by John Nash in 1950. Nash proved that in any competitive situation, a stable point exists where no player gains anything by changing their move alone. He called it the Nash equilibrium, and it reveals that pure self-interest consistently produces the worst collective result. But when you play the same game repeatedly with the same people, cooperation emerges naturally. Think about it. Every negotiation you make, every relationship you build, and every partnership you enter is essentially a game. And understanding this makes you more rational, helping you logically analyze behaviors and actions rather than taking them personally. So the most objective way to win is to help others win too. I guess this is where they get 1 + 1 = 3. Number 5, cognitive dissonance theory. In the 1950s, psychologist Leon Festinger went undercover and joined a doomsday cult. That cult believed a catastrophic event would end the world on a specific date. And Festinger wanted to know what happens to deeply committed believers when the prophecy fails. When the date passed and the world did not end, the cult did not collapse. They doubled down. They told the press the earth was saved because of their faith, and they became more committed in their beliefs and recruited more members. This observation became cognitive dissonance theory. It is the psychological discomfort that surfaces when your beliefs and your actions contradict each other, and your mind will do almost anything to make it go away. To escape it, you do not usually change your behavior. You change the story, you rationalize and reframe it. You will find any reasons to justify it. This is why people who paid a fortune for a bad investment keep defending it. It is why smokers convince themselves the risk outweighs the quote-unquote benefits. So people do not act from belief. People act and then construct the belief to justify what they have already done. Once you see this pattern, you start catching yourself mid-rationalization, and that awareness gives you the power to actually change your mind before your actions make the decision for you. You'll start catching people illogically rationalizing their behaviors. Stay clear from them because they are pretty much lost in their own imaginary sauce. Number 4, locus of control theory. Picture two people who lost their jobs in the same week. One spirals blaming that the world is unfair, luck was never on their side, and that nothing they do changes anything, while the other gets uncomfortable, sits with it, and starts moving past it. Same unfortunate event, but two different mindsets that ultimately leads to completely different trajectory in their lives. Julian Rotter called this divide the locus of control, and it sits on a spectrum from internal to external. Internal locus is the belief that your outcomes are the direct product of your own choices, effort, and actions. External locus is the belief that luck, fate, or other people decide what happens to you. The research across thousands of studies consistently show that people with a strong internal locus are healthier, more academically successful, more resilient under stress, and significantly less prone to depression. A large-scale Australian population study confirmed it directly strengthens self-control, which then drives better outcomes across health, finances, and well-being. So stop asking why this happened to you and start asking what you are going to do about it. That single change in framing is the difference between a victim and a player. You are not the product of your circumstances. You are the product of how you interpret your circumstances and what actions you take in response to them. Start believing that every failure or mistake as a learning experience and is an opportunity to help you grow. Number three, the hedonic treadmill. In 1978, researchers compared the happiness levels of lottery winners and people who had recently become paraplegic. You would probably assume that the lottery winners should hypothetically be happier, but in actuality, the lottery winners were no happier than ordinary people in the control group, whereas the accident victims, despite their unfortunate circumstances, still reported happiness levels above the midpoint of the scale. And within a year, all three groups had returned to roughly the same baseline happiness they had before their respective life-changing event. The lottery winners actually reported deriving less pleasure from ordinary daily activities than the controls. Their new baseline was so elevated that normal life felt flat. Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell named this the hedonic treadmill. You chase the income, the promotion, the achievement, and happiness briefly spikes, but then the high gradually fades and returns back your personal baseline. So you raise the bar and chase after the next milestone, hopping back on this never-ending treadmill loop. A study showed that roughly half of your happiness baseline is genetic. This is why the wealthiest, most accomplished people in the world usually have some sort of feeling of emptiness and say something along the lines that money doesn't buy happiness, even though from the perspective of others, they seem to have everything. And it shows that happiness is not accumulating wealth or external achievements. So stop trading your health and well-being chasing those external outcomes, because they will inevitably not satisfy nor give you what you are looking for. It's all about the process, being intentional, building the deep relationships, and creating and contributing to meaningful work. It truly is the journey, not the destination. Number two, embodied cognition theory. Researchers once handed job interviewers two identical resumes, one clipped to a heavy clipboard and one to a light one. The interviewers rated the candidate on the heavier clipboard as more serious and more qualified. So the physical weight of an object they were holding literally changed the cognitive weight they assigned to another person's professional merit. That is how deeply the body shapes thought. This is embodied cognition, a theory that directly challenges the idea that thinking is purely a mental process that occurs only in the brain, and it proves that cognition is grounded in the body's continuous interaction with the physical world. A Stanford study found that walking boosts creative thinking by up to 60% compared to sitting. People in hard chairs are measurably less willing to negotiate. Physical movement, posture, gesture, and sensory experience is actively shaping your thinking. The body and brain are one continuous feedback loop working together asynchronously. So move purposefully and intentionally, because how you see, interact, and experience the world can literally have a trickle-down effect that influences on what you think and believe is possible. Number one, chaos theory. In 1961, MIT meteorologist Edward Lorenz stepped away from a running weather simulation to grab a coffee. When he returned, he discovered that a tiny change he had made to one of his starting numbers had sent the entire forecast in a completely different direction. Nearly identical starting conditions had produced entirely unrecognizable futures. That accidental discovery became the foundation of chaos theory. In complex systems, small differences in starting conditions amplify exponentially and produce divergent outcomes. This can be applied personally because your life is a complex system. The conversation you had or didn't have, the city you stayed in or moved away from, the job you accepted over another. Every day, we are flooded with choices and decisions. None of them felt seismic in the moment, But in a chaotic system, the smallest input at the right moment can redirect an entire trajectory. This does not mean life is random. Chaos theory is explicit that there is deep underlying order inside apparent disorder. It means small intentional actions carry disproportionate power. So we are dynamically living and shaping the trajectory of our life by every action and choice. It's the butterfly effect happening in real time. Try to be more aware of the decisions and choices you make, because those are the building blocks to creating the best outcomes in your life. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more.